Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I wanted to go live to talk a little bit about opera versus pop. I encounter this all the time. It seems like there's a lot of confusion. Like, what's the difference? Why would I need to know the difference? And the register question is really, really confusing sometimes because it seems like a lot of singers, especially those who are maybe more in the beginning, who haven't done either one or the other, or some that have only done opera and then they want to sing pop, or those who have sung pop and then want to sing classically, they ask like, okay, so like you can't approach basically both the same way. Now there are a lot of basics that apply to any genre, like the way you breathe, the way you support, and like resonance. It all applies, but the main difference is that in opera, you work to project and fill the room with sound. It's not, even when it's intimate, you always have to project. And in pop, there will always be some amplification, like a electronic amplification. So we sing accordingly. In pop music, anything popular, that is like rock, pop, jazz, folk, a lot of things, anything that you would normally sing with a microphone close up to you, that is, in the pop genre, and that's how you sing because you are close to the mic. You want to sound intimate. You want to sound natural. Like when I'm speaking, pop resembles a lot of that. It's like, I am singing soft and then I sing intense. And in opera, the objective really is you're not going to have a microphone. You're not going to have a PA system. This is the original intention. And therefore, what you have to do is really work on projecting outward and filling the space, i.e. the theater or the opera, the theater hall, with your voice, with the sound. You have to really focus on carrying over whatever else is playing, like whether it's an orchestra or maybe like a smaller string ensemble, like a quartet maybe, or a pianist, which that's not so hard to sound above that. But what is really important is to remember that the objective here and the way you sing is different. In pop music, you want to be, it's almost like someone is really close to you. And so when you're singing more soft, those lower parts, it's almost like you're very close to someone. It's like, I want it to be intimate. And a lot of times there's the illusion that the volume doesn't change a lot. But in reality, of course, in post-production, what we do is the soft parts and the loud parts, they need to be evened out just a bit. Otherwise, it'll be too soft here and you can't hear it on the recording, and it'll be too loud. It'll blow out. So what we do is, first of all, we play with the distance to the mic. And second of all, we also do the post-production. We do, usually normalize. That's the first step. You normalize to where it equals out a little bit, the softer and the loud. And also we compress usually, which also, again, it just makes the voice more center and thicker. And it just evens out all those dynamic differences between the soft and the loud. And in classical music, when you sing softly, you still have to project somewhat, but still be soft, but you have to still create frequencies that carry above everything, that fill, travel, that actually resonate. Whereas, like when you sing loud, you have to fill the room, but you want to be above everything. So when especially when brass instruments play, that's very loud. So in order to do that, the focus is very much on amplifying resonance as much as possible. So creating lots of space in the pharyngeal area back there, lifting your soft palate, opening up the vowels is very important. Nasal sound just does not work at all in opera singing, whereas in a lot of pop, like a lot of modern music theater and some genres of pop, there are some nasal qualities that are even desired sometimes. It doesn't mean you're completely sounding nasal, but there are some qualities like, if you want to sing more bright and more brassy and a little bit more nasal quality, sometimes that is just desired. It is the way it needs to sound depending on the genre you sing. So there are different objectives. But instead of me talking a lot, I actually wanted to go ahead and sing something so you hear the difference. The huge difference, especially for female singers, is that there is a huge register difference. In pop music, I want to use mostly chest voice, most of the time, all the time. Whereas in classical singing, as a female singer, like soprano, mezzo, alto, there are not a lot of true altos in classical singing. that is a rarity. And if you're a true alto, yeah, you will sing a bit more in chest voice, but as a soprano and mezzo, we sing mostly in head voice and a little bit in chest voice when it goes really low down. But the way we sing in chest voice is very different from the pop music chest voice, because we still want to have a consistent sound that kind of is added to that head voice sound and doesn't suddenly sound completely different. And in pop music, we sing, as females, we sing mostly in chest voice. And then when we do have to transition into head voice on the top, we don't want to suddenly sound like a different singer, like an opera singer. We use the space, the pharyngeal area. That's where you can kind of really influence a lot of what is the quality of sound that comes out, like versus different sound. So instead of talking a lot, let me read a couple of comments, and then I'll actually go ahead and sing something. Probably YouTube is going to send me a message afterwards. Well, like, can't monetize, but I don't have to monetize. That's not important to me right now. What is important is that I want to show you something, but I can't show you unless I actually sing a song. One of them is most certainly copyrighted, and the opera one, let's see. A lot of times I actually get messages when I do these things where I actually put on a classical piece of music that I have sung, and I actually purchased an accompaniment track. They tell me there's a copyright thing, going on, and I can't monetize. And I've actually, how do you say, like, you can, how do you say that? Like, you can submit a, like, going against that. It's like, no, I do have the rights. And so I was like, I'm singing it, obviously. And this is music that's 100 years old. So it's public domain. And I purchased the accompaniment track, so I can use it. Okay, let me read a couple of it. Could you please explain the difference in technique in low intensity and high intensity in pop tone? What exactly do you mean? Low intensity. A lot of times, this is the pattern that pop music usually follows, is that when you sing the verses, they're usually a little lower intensity. That's kind of where the storyline moves along. You're talking, more words. And then in the chorus, there's usually like more energy. It repeats, of course, and it usually goes higher. Almost all of the time, that's the pattern pop music follows. I do have a course, how to mastering pop ballads, because not even ballads, but almost a lot of other songs always follow that. Just think about, like, for example, Tina Turner, Simply the Best. Da 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 da. You're simply the best. Chorus always higher, more intense. Verses lower, less intense. Almost all the time, this is exactly the pattern that happens. So what you want to do, you want to work with the distance of the mic, but you also want to relax your voice. The lower the pitch, the more you can relax in pop music. And the higher it is, and the more intense it needs to be, the more you need to actually give it energy, support, and make sure your vocal cords are tightly closed. Otherwise, if you have a lot of breathiness and you try to be loud at the same time, it's going to hurt your voice big time. You're going to wear yourself out very quickly. You don't easily, it's not going to take just a few seconds to actually damage your vocal cords. You would need to do something very intense once, or something quite intense over a longer period of time, like repeatedly over and over again, in order to actually damage your vocal cords. I'm sorry, but the light is like the sun comes in and out constantly. My camera takes a couple seconds to adjust. I will sing in just a second. Let me read a couple of comments. So hi, everyone. So Catherine, Trent, I answered your question. And thank you that you love my videos. Alexis, awesome that you're here. Maria, thank you for these videos. Freya, I found them very interesting and helpful. You're very welcome. I enjoy this. And T. Brem, how do I sound more like an opera singer? Okay, I'm going to demonstrate something. Opera singing is a lot about creating resonating space. And how do we do this? We try to, watch me when I sing. I will start with the pop music piece, and then I will sing the opera piece. But the pop music piece, I don't quite need to work as hard on enunciation. And I always talk about the soft parts. So lips, tongue, pharyngeal, like soft palate, and the throat, that what we call the throat. That I call the soft parts, because there's not a joint, because it's not about moving the jaw a lot. It's really about moving the soft parts. Watch what I do. much more intense in opera in order to create more space, which acts as an amplifier of the sound that comes from my vocal cords. In pop music, this is the main amplifier. And when you listen to any recordings or live, watch, listen to, actually they're singing softly. It doesn't sound maybe that soft because, like I said, we have to adjust the sound levels in a recording so it doesn't, it's all kind of leveled out a bit more. Yes, awesome. So I'm just going to go ahead and sing. I'm going to start out with a pop piece that illustrates what I just talked about. Leona Lewis's A Moment Like This. I have sung it many times for weddings. Very popular for weddings. And I hope this is always not easy in a live to have a good sound, but let's hope all goes well. Okay, start my karaoke track. It's like when I talk, I get out of breath. What if I told you it was all meant to be? Would you believe me? Would you agree? It's almost that feeling that we've met before. So tell me that you don't think I'm crazy when I tell you love has come here and now. A moment like this, some people wait a lifetime for a moment like this. Some people search forever for that one special kiss. Oh, I can't believe it's happening to me. Some people wait a lifetime for a moment like this. Everything changes, beauty remains. Something so tender I can't explain. Oh well, I may be dreaming, but till I awake, can't we make this dream last forever? And I'll cherish all the love that we share. A moment like this, some people wait a lifetime for a moment like this. Some people search forever for that one special kiss. Oh, I can't believe it's happening to me. Some people wait a lifetime for a moment It is so strange without hearing myself through any speakers, and I don't have, I'm not wearing any headphones. I don't wanna. So, okay. So now this was a lot, if you watched me, like it was a lot of chest voice. I only went into head voice when it went really high. But still, of course, I don't know how, like if it went overdrive, I can la la la. I guess it should have been okay. Sorry, I still had the reverb on. So, a lot more intimate on the low parts. So it's like, what if I told you it's very low, low, low. And you don't have to be loud when it's low. It's prettier. It just sounds more beautiful when you get really close and you just easily sing the pitches. You don't have to be loud. And then when I go, moment like this, when you belt out, you need to be more distant to the microphone so that you can sing with your full, powerful chest voice. Which then, of course, here's the thing when you record vocals. If you're well supported, you hear the difference, because when you're well supported, not only does it sound better, but also the difference between if you just shout without support, it's going to just go into overdrive, into the red very easily. So you need to kind of, even with your support, you can even out between the two a little bit. Between, the difference between a moment like this, which is just shouted, or a moment like this, which is more supported. Big difference in how it comes out, even live. It just sounds more controlled and just, it has a prettier resonance. I did want to sing something. Where do I buy my music tracks? I can't even tell you where all of the ones that I have are from, because I have collected them over the years. And I've had a lot of students share things with me. And also I bought some there. There are several music sites online where you can buy tracks. You can, if you want free tracks, you can go to YouTube or to Spotify. You just type in the name of the song and karaoke. And a lot of times, even on Spotify, you'll find something. If you don't have YouTube Premium, which then there's always a commercial, I have YouTube Premium, which cuts off all the ads, which is good if you have to use it like, live or something. Another really great place for, like, if you love to sing is Smule. I absolutely recommend it. They have lots and lots of songs, karaoke. If you have the paid version of Smule, you can just sing solo. If you don't pay for it, the free version, you kind of have to always do a duet with someone and sing along, or like sing a part that they don't sing. But if you have the paid version, you can just sing any song you want to sing. You can put an effect on it so it sounds a little prettier, like with some reverb. Like everything just sounds a little bit better with reverb. Reverb only means you give it a little space. It's not dry. So now, let's see if I can read a couple comments. Oh, my new tooth. It's not even the new tooth. I have to kind of fall, like it's just an insert for now. Like the story about my tooth. Yeah, I'm getting that implant not until later. So end of August is my next appointment where they do an x-ray and check the bone structure if it's good enough for the screw to go in. And then they will, that's the appointment I dread, because they literally have to drill a hole into my jaw. Not fun, but let's continue on. This is just the insert. They made another insert that now actually works and I can actually speak. I stumble sometimes. Well, thanks. If you're close up, you can tell the color isn't perfect, but it's a lot better. I can actually smile and it looks okay. It's a little, in the back, there's a little something that holds it, like a bracket that holds it in place, which my tongue is just a little annoyed at this, but it's not real bad. Yeah, Smule is definitely fun. Okay, now, let's see, one more. Kayana, I wanted to read all the comments. Also practicing breathing so much is not progressing yet. I run out of air too soon. I'm hoping that ends soon. If you're inhaling enough air, then it might be a problem of vocal cord closure. Maybe you are losing air on the way out, when you're singing. maybe your vocal cords don't close tightly enough to where you lose a lot of air. If there's any amount of breathiness, that could be the case. And again, I can't tell. And I did want to tell you about my opera class, but let me sing an opera piece first, and then I can tell you about an opera class that you can join for just $97 for 1 week. I will teach you how to sing opera. I will teach you all the basics. But now I'm going to sing, I think, one of the favorites. I do have a video where I actually perform this with my pianist and best friend, Helge. But I'm just going to use a karaoke track now. It's O mio babbino caro. I'll read your comments after I get done with that. And I think it's one of the favorite arias of all, like beginner sopranos. Although I actually don't think it's such a beginner aria. It doesn't go extremely high or anything. But Puccini is usually something that I don't recommend for very much beginners, because there is an amount of portamento that we actually don't want to do when we start out in order to be more aware of accuracy. And when you start doing portamenti, it's not really helping. So we start out more with maybe, art songs and Bach and Mozart and Handel and those kind of things. Anything that's like classical period and before, anything that's later, in the bel canto area, which is like 19th century, lots of fancy stuff happening. Fancy, in Handel and Mozart and Vivaldi, lots of coloraturas for those who have a voice that's very agile. But, well, thank you so much. So let me go ahead, and I want you to just watch now everything that I told you about the projection. I'm going to have to move away from the microphone a lot. So I'm going to put it like way out there, because otherwise you'll just not hear anything except distortion. Okay, O mio babbino caro, which means my dear little daddy. And basically Lauretta is trying to convince her dad that she wants to marry her beloved Rinuccio, because her dad is saying like, no, absolutely not. Every dad would say to their daughters like, no, you're not marrying that guy. But hopefully it's a nice guy if you have a daughter, And she's like, please, if you don't let me marry him, I'm going to throw myself into the Arno River. She's just bluffing, of course. So it's a short little piece of music, and actually it's not very nice to perform this with a karaoke track, because I would love to stay on those top notes and take it a little bit more rubato, which means, give and take a little bit more time. You are a little bit faster here and then you hold it and then you're moving along and you're holding. And I would rather more like, it's like, Babo Pieta, like really do more, play with dynamics more. And you can't when it's so short. Even on the beginning, mi piace bello, bello. It's much nicer when you have a bit more time. Those karaoke tracks usually move along a little fast and just like plow through. And like, this is some parts they like, you want to, in bel canto, it's really, you always want to broaden that high note a bit because it's like, I want to enjoy it because the audience wants to go like, yes, the high note now. I mean, if there's a soprano, anyone wants to hear the soprano sing the high notes. So, okay, now let me read some of the comments. I hope didn't go into distortion. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Only to prove to you that it is possible to sing both popera. Yeah, that's probably what I do. Popera. You can sing pop and you can sing opera and switch between the two. It is possible. I've heard a lot of people say, if you're going to sing pop, just sing pop. You have no business singing anything classical. I disagree. It's not easy probably just for any beginner to do that. You should probably know. I think the sooner you begin actually doing both, the more you're dots and be like, okay, this is how I do things in pop music. It's slightly different. And I feel like it expands my awareness of anything and everything that I do vocally. Well, thank you everyone for your comments. I am learning Indian classical vocals. That is beautiful. And I'm not very familiar with Indian vocals, but my babysitter is actually from India. She's actually from Punjab. And she always tells me a lot about her home country and her home area where she comes from. And but I'm not familiar with a lot of classical Indian music, but I have had students who have sung that. So any other comments? So it's like, I've sung that. So any other comments? So it's like, did you see how I have to work more on projecting forward, whereas in the pop piece, it's more about the intimacy and more like a natural kind of sound, like I'm speaking, it's like, what if I told you? What if I told you? It's like very similar to the way I would speak, but I would not speak, oh mio babino caro. Typically, that's not how I would speak, right? So just a different objective. But I want to tell you more about my opera class. Today's Tuesday. So in 2 days, only like less than 2 days, we're going to kick off a 1-week opera class. And this time I wanted to make it accessible for as many people as possible. What I did before, I ran the opera class for 1 month. I also worked, I gave one-on-one feedback. However, I know that not everyone can afford like $497 to do a month of actual coaching with me. But I did want to give more people access to how do I learn, to really learn the basics. How do I achieve that projecting kind of sound? How do I start things right? Also add another layer that it's not just a video course I'm throwing out there, but there will be actual challenges that I'm giving you with lessons. You can post your own videos of yourself singing, and I will give some more of a general feedback, but I will actually get to look and see, hear your voice if you post. You don't have to post, but we have a community part of that class that will be going on, and that makes all the difference because it's not just a bunch of videos that you watch. There's interaction, and I will do a live Q&A, and there will be a community part of it. So you go to masteryourvoice.tv/opera class and you can join. Don't wait too long. If you do want to join, it's $97. And it's a week-long class where I show you all the basics to sing opera And of course, if you wait a little longer, I may run my pop ballads class one day again. I'm not running it right now, but just right now, if you join my opera class, I'm going to share all this with you. Whether you're a male or a female singer, doesn't matter. Now, of course, male and female opera is a little different. Opera is like, I'm using opera as the word, but I mean generally classical music. I mean the sound of non-amplified classical music, classical tone in your voice. So that applies to Indian classical music also, although of course I can't recommend any pieces to you if you're like talking about Indian classical music. I'm not familiar with any pieces. I also have not learned to sing in any of those languages. But I will definitely recommend, I will help you find your voice type and gain clarity about like, how do I even find my voice type? What am I? Because I have had a lot of students who had conflicting opinions. Like they had one teacher, they told them, you're a mezzo. And then the next teacher comes along, so like, you're a soprano. And the next teacher comes along, so you're an alto. And then they're completely confused. And I will help you find that, because none of them are wrong, but none of them are also completely right. It's important to understand like what determines voice type. It's a lot more than just how high and low can you sing. It's not just your vocal range. There's a lot more going on. And especially in classical music, there are a lot of aspects of singing that, it's like a lot of people ask me, so can you sing the Queen of the Night aria? It's like, I could, but I probably don't want to sing it because it is not, I'm a soubrette. I'm not a dramatic coloratura soprano. I'm a soubrette / lyric coloratura, but not a dramatic coloratura. It's like that rage that it needs more depth and more darkness. I have a brighter, lighter voice. It needs more volume, more heaviness. And so I don't usually, that's not anything I usually sing. Because it's not because I can't, it's because it's just not my repertoire. It's not my voice type. And if you sing pieces that are really good for your voice type, your voice is going to sound, number one, its best. And also number two, you're not going to strain yourself. Well, I'm not like, let's see. I'm not familiar with French enough. You saw like something about 5 arias in French and 4 óperas, de óperas. I'm not. Can I see a translation here? No. German, English. I'm really good at that. So intriguing. However, I sing more Christian contemporary music. Well, that's great. Then maybe you should consider joining my online singing school, because that's where you learn anything about singing. Like in general, it's really about all genres. It's about a live Q&A. As a matter of fact, tomorrow we have our next live Q&A with me. We do this once a month. There's also an accountability hour once a month with our accountability coach, and there's a community. There are challenges that we run in that also. So if you're not on the track of opera, you can always join the online singing school. It's on my website, masteryourvoice.tv. You can find all the information about the online singing school. So, Phantom of the Opera. It's actually a duet. I guess you could sing it as a solo also. Oh, my website. Yes, I did. I think I did post an actual masteryourvoice.tv. So I posted it on YouTube, and now I'm going to post it on Facebook also. So that's my website. You won't be able to find the opera class on that because it's not on the homepage. It's just a one-time thing I do. I've never done this before, how to sing opera in a week, and I don't know if I'll ever do it again. So it's like a one-time thing I'm doing because I want to help everyone get started. And If you love the class, you can always afterwards join my online singing school where we can continue. But this is specifically in 2 days, we will start specifically targeted like to help you get started in opera. Okay, any more questions about opera versus pop? I want to really stay on topic here. Yes, the live Q&A is also, I'm streaming to YouTube and to Facebook at the same time. If you have any questions, shoot now. But let's stay on topic because I don't want to like deviate too much. You know, when people find the video, it has a title. And, wishing you were somehow here again. That's so pretty. But like today, I'm going to stay with these 2 songs. I didn't look for a track. I have to look for an accompaniment track. But maybe next time. That's a good idea. I love that. I also love Les Miserables. It's like beautiful songs. Like I Dreamed a Dream or On My Own. Those are really beautiful pieces I love to sing. Okay, any questions? Otherwise, we'll wrap up here. Any more questions about pop versus opera versus pop singing? What the difference is. If there's anything you're still confused about, the register is a huge thing for female singers. Now, for male singers, it's more about how, like where to make it ring, about the character of the sound. Because again, in pop singing, you have a microphone. It's not so much about projecting outward. Okay. I'm going to give you a few more seconds to type something in. Pop, chest voice, opera, head voice. Yeah, I did touch on that in the beginning. In opera, as a female singer, you will sing mostly in head voice and a little bit in chest voice when it gets very low. But you want to sound like you're connecting seamlessly to your head voice. So, la, 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 la. So the lowest pitch just now was chest voice, but it doesn't sound like a pop chest voice. Da. It doesn't sound the same. You still want to project and have that kind of same pharyngeal space there to project. And in pop music, it's like na 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 na. I went just a little bit in head voice on the top, but again, I didn't go but it's more like so it connects seamlessly to the chest voice and it doesn't sound like suddenly there's like a different singer. That's as a female. As a male, you sing in both genres, mostly in chest voice. Only when it goes above a point in your passaggio, then you connect into your head voice. Same principle. Same principle, except males in opera don't sing in head voice most of the time. Only when it gets really different. You have 2 registers. I have actually videos about that, how to know the difference and why it is so important to know the difference. Because they work. Oh, Josh Groban is amazing. I love Josh Groban. Great. He's really good at using both of his registers, which is the reason why he can also sing really high. But he also has a very strong middle voice. He also can sing a lower. So Trent, you being a male singer, that means you would in pop music use, like both in pop and in opera, use mostly chest voice. But here's the thing. When you go above a certain point, it becomes very hard to sing louder and even higher. That's why we have another register in the human voice. And when we switch, here's what happens. The larynx, it tilts this way. Like the vocal cords are attached, like just like here. And then when it tilts, it pulls the vocal cords so they stretch more and it's easier to sing higher frequencies. And for that, you do need to tilt into head voice to make it easier. And you have so much more range when you actually utilize your head voice. A lot of male singers, especially those who have maybe lower or heavier voices, darker voices, for a lot of those singers, it's very hard to actually access their head voice, but it's very important because if you don't use it, you're missing out on so much range. When you get higher and higher, you can't just continue getting heavier and yell more and yell more. There's a limit to how high your chest voice can go. And then you have to start utilizing your head voice. And then you'll be like, wow, I have so much more range. Like at least another octave to go higher. No, you can't sing opera with a mic. That just doesn't work. Yeah, you have to do it without a mic, but then it's important to be in a room that actually has a little bit of acoustic resonance. Like if it's like just a carpet and lots of curtains and drapes, when there's a lot of fabric in the room, it swallows up the sound. So for classical singing, it's really good to have a space where like sound bounces off like walls and floors and ceilings and comes back to you because you can hear yourself better. It's like, we call it, dry versus wet sound. Dry means everything is swallowed up, and wet, the more wet it is, the more, like a big cathedral will be a very wet sound. Like, I don't know why they call it wet or dry. Dry is just like nothing on it. It's just like plain. Awesome. Thank you, DL. Kayana, I sing more country and folk, not needing the operatic tone, but the range I'd like to access. Yep, definitely. But I found, like among most of my students, that when they actually trained classical singing and trained the head voice to go higher, it did also help strengthen their chest voice and vice versa. And yeah, I just think for accuracy's sake and for musicality training, it's just so beneficial to kind of throw in a classical piece here and there. It doesn't have to be full-fledged opera. It could just be an art song or a piece from an oratorio, like a Handel or something. For example, like I know that my Redeemer liveth or something like that. Not extremely high or low, but classical music requires you to have a level of accuracy that is like, it's a must. There's no way around it. And it'll make you so much more aware of details that honestly in any popular music doesn't matter too much, because there's a lot of freedom and like you don't have to do it exactly like this, and you slide and you slur and you do like the scooping, which is totally okay in a lot of popular music style. But when you are aware of, am I doing it, am I not doing it, am I doing it intentionally, do I want to do it, do I not want to do it, if you are the one in control and you're aware of when you do something and when you don't do something, you're like your accuracy level goes up. Okay, I do have to wrap it up. Have another appointment in a little bit. I would love to see some of you either in my opera class, which starts in 2 days, or in my online singing school, which is like a monthly membership. There's no minimum requirement. You could just check it and then, stay on as long as you wish. The one is like a one-time payment of $97 for the opera class for a week, or the online singing school is $97, which, for a month. And then it renews every month until you cancel, which we don't just talk about, we talk about like generally singing anything, right? And we also run challenges in there. Baritone, singing classical music. Should I keep the larynx higher? Oh, don't open that can of worms now. Most of the time to sing pop. Is it going to keep me closer to the pop style? What about higher notes? Yeah, well, naturally the larynx does lower when you sing higher pitches. Naturally, it has to lower in order to make more space so that the vocal cords can elongate. This is a normal progression. And it is true that I don't want to really say that in classical singing generally, there's always a lower larynx. I've had this discussion so many times, and everyone who has followed me for a while or who's inside of any of my programs will have heard me talk about this many times, that debate about the larynx position. I don't believe, and that's not how I was taught. I was taught that it's not desirable to have a consistent low larynx. We don't want to think of, we need to lower the larynx. What we want to think is, keep the larynx moving freely like it needs to, which does include it lowering as you sing higher, but we don't want to focus on having a low larynx consistently. What we do want to focus in on is the pharyngeal space, which is so much more important for resonance. When you only focus on laryngeal position and lowering it excessively, I feel like it puts on a lot of strain. And I see a lot of singers It darkens the voice and it makes it more voluminous, but that's almost like a cheat solution. Instead of working on brighter, higher placement, very high resonant overtones, and as much as you can add to that by raising the soft palate even more and optimizing the space back in your throat, not just the larynx, but what's above that, the pharyngeal space, continuing on inside of your mouth. There's a difference between like optimizing that space, also working with your lips. Like every detail counts in classical singing, and you don't just want to think of lower larynx. Now in pop singing, generally we don't need as much space and as much resonance because we don't have to project as much. That doesn't mean we don't also want to have beautiful sound with a resonant, bright overtones. We do want that. But that's more reserved for it doesn't quite need that pressure. That subglottal compression is a lot less in pop singing. We don't need that level of support outward. That doesn't mean we don't need support, but the level is just a different level there. No, you are not, you're absolutely right about the larynx position, but again, it's the debate. You don't want to push it. You don't want to raise it excessively. Does that make sense? It's really more the pharyngeal space that we should focus on and the opening of that space. It's above, like my diplomas, they're higher up. You can't see them right now. I actually took vocal pedagogy. I have a degree in, I have a bachelor of music and vocal performance, and I have a soloist diploma for opera performance. So we had to take vocal pedagogy. I actually learned this. I'm not just someone who's I just know how to sing. And then I say now I'm a vocal coach. I actually learned it, but then I also, in reality, it doesn't matter what someone learned. It's really what comes out. But when you teach, it does matter if you know actually what goes on with the anatomy. Okay, I just actually wanted to wrap it. I do have an appointment in 5 minutes. Yes. Okay. So I think we kind of wrapped up that larynx issue a lot. I could talk about the larynx position forever. If I am not wrong, changing registers leads to changing style. Nope. No. You can use chest voice in both, you need both registers in all style if you wanted to sing in your full range. There is a natural progression. When you sing very low, you can't sing that in head voice. And when you sing really high, you can't sing that in chest voice. It's just the anatomy of it. The lower part of your voice is your chest voice. And then you come to a limit on the top. Oh, and then you can switch gears. It's like, a stick shift car. You switch gears and all of a sudden you can go faster. Or in this case, you can go higher. You need both registers in all genres if you want to use your full vocal range. You will just have slightly different resonance and how you want the outcome to be, how you shape everything. It's just a slightly different. I find it very hard to stay organic in opera voice. What do you mean organic? I love the very old opera singing, which sounds more natural. When you're talking about old music, old music that is pre-Baroque, they used a lot of straight tone singing and different performance techniques. Instead of just a vibrato, they used tremolo, stuff like that. And a lot of straight tone, they would go I sing straight tone. And it's not about, because it's the history of it. In old music, old music, pre-Baroque even, Baroque were still fairly small orchestras. Mozart, still fairly small orchestras. Now think Wagner and Puccini and Verdi, large orchestras with brass. Back in time, there were not even brass instruments. There were only flutes and lutes and string instruments. There was not even a piano pre-Baroque. Really, in Mozart's time, that's where the forte piano was kind of started to be very popular. Before that, not so much. Harpsichord, yes, but in old music, the way how it was performed and the spaces where it performed, not big sound. That wasn't really, it was still about being resonant, but it wasn't about being so voluminous. So with old music, you often hear not as huge voices. It's more about staying beautiful, not as heavy, a little lighter. There are singers who specialize in old music. My voice actually is really good for that because I don't have this huge, darker, heavier voice. I have a lighter, quite agile voice. But yeah. Okay, you don't want to start. You don't want to be too dark or too bright. You want to be in your natural voice. See what I'm saying? It's like I could go or so one is too dark and one is too bright. I want to do my natural voice. Bright overtones are not equal to having like brightening the voice. Bright overtones only means you're like opening up as much as possible, like in your throat and like using your lips to kind of make sure the sound waves go everywhere and all those structures, like they resonate. You know, there's a buzz everywhere, like all those bones, they can resonate, and all the hollow spaces, like in your sinuses and here, there are hollow spaces, and you want the sound waves like to go everywhere as much as possible. In opera, especially because you want to project. So it's not about making it brighter or darker. It's really about how you direct the sound waves. In pop, you don't want to be too dark and you don't want to be too bright. You want to be in your natural. The bass line is like somewhere in the middle. And I have to wrap it up. I would love to continue the conversation, but if you join any of my classes, we can totally continue.